by little, we became familiar with those ingredients, and they became a part of our culture. And that's the wonderful thing about America.
Head north toward Hanover
We
Road
don't
Northwest.
hang on to a single house tradition, but we're so open to new tastes.
I love that clip.
Isn't it great?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that struck me listening to that, listen to the specificity of what she points out in her description of Claudia Roden. What a constant editor, right? She's talking about where the parents are from, where Claudia Roden did her research. You know, she's framing the
Turn
story.
right onto New Mexico
so
45, Coors Boulevard
so that you can get
Northwest.
granular, which is, of course, the secret to any good story.
Right. It's like the big picture.
Continue on New Mexico 45 for 1 mile.
You're gonna turn off Blue Rider
That's like the big
Road
picture for
left.
Judith.
0.9
Did
miles.
she know that she was changing American culture with her cookbooks? Like, I don't think that's overstating it, because cookbooks are not seen as literature, right? Like, it was not polite, it was not high class to talk about food. And she, book by book, was creating the groundwork for a culture that actually understood food and was curious about food, and eventually years later we would see food as entertainment and as culture.
No.
Yeah. You know, when I asked her in 2013 if she thought she was on a mission with her cookbooks, she said absolutely not. I mean, she completely resisted. And the way she described it was that when someone or some story struck her as interesting enough, that's when she decided to do a book. That it wasn't a kind of premeditated mission that she had in mind, but the right person had to come along to be the conduit of that
In a
story.
quarter mile,
And if you
turn
think
left onto
about
Blue Water Road
Julia Child
Northwest.
and her personality, if you think about Madhur Jaffrey and her incredible exuberance, right? The vibrancy of her cooking and her personality. She's also an actor, famous actor at that point. Etta Lewis's grace, her presence in New York City. You're talking about people who
At the
had
light, turn
tremendous
left onto Blue Water Road
singularity,
Northwest.
in who they were and in their authorial voice, and also in their cooking. So Judith was not going to rush just to find somebody to fill a slot. She was going to wait until the right person came along. And I think in some ways that patience is part of what made her a very good editor.
style, don't he?
Yeah. I'm thinking about all those people and wondering what kind of TikTok profiles they would have right now. So
You gotta make them two pushes, got them across the street.
She's probably
And you
fabulous.
push but twice and look how far
if
you
you wanted to.
Downhill.
Okay, so I want to ask
downhill,
this
that's why.
one more question.
Oh yeah, that shit ain't electric.
You obviously adore Judith. I mean, you've written a very long book about her.
He
You
is going
adore her as a
downhill.
person, and have found, just tremendous interest in researching every possible thing
That's
you
gotta
can
be
about her.
electric.
Continue on Blue Water Road Northwest for half a mile.
Keeping is not meant to.
Shows as a seriousness and how you feel about her. She's not just, this friend you made and now you get to write her love story. You have your critiques of her.
And here
as
you
well.
doing them people signs.
And you feel of her, but you see her human imperfections. And you wrote
Yeah, it
that,
is electric.
one of her gifts as an editor was how invisible she was. Right? Like, the point is, you don't read a Judith Jones book and know it's a Judith Jones book.
You can't ride no shit like that on the sidewalk like this,
And you
though.
also said that she
You gotta ride that shit in the street.
to me.
Cause you gotta keep on fucking
Dude, I'm not wording you like
going up and down and that shit.
color a little bit.
Man, I gotta ride that
How
shit
do you
in the street.
understand her
Ooh.
when
They hit that speed bump like that?
Well, Judith only had more than 60
Why
years
they ain't
age
jump up in
between
the
us. So
house?
I think that's an important thing to think about.
Man, look at that sandstone.
And living through a very
Dust
different
storm.
period of American culture.
What they say, turn right.
No, on street. You could drive. It's gonna be where the park
But
is.
one thing that really struck me after
Oh, that's it,
Judith's
straight
death,
ahead?
after
Yeah.
my
Oh.
conversations with her,
Oh, so it's on Blue Water. I didn't
she
know that.
really put it on her authors to make themselves legible to a largely white, largely very affluent
They got a
American
dispensary in the middle of the
readership,
neighborhood.
rather than asking that readership to meet those
Convenient for all the fucking people right here. Let's walk out this door and go
I
get them some
think there's
herbs.
a way in which that reads as
You got a dispensary in our neighborhood too.
Crazy, it's zoned for
It
business.
feels like it is centering whiteness, which it certainly was. It was exoticizing those authors of color in ways that I think now
That's a land
I would hope
apartment.
that she would do differently and
In
perhaps do
600
better. That
feet,
she
turn
might
left
ask
onto Yucca Drive
the audience
Northwest.
to come a little closer to the
Yeah,
authors
yourself.
and let the authors be exactly who they were in their own context and explain themselves on their own terms. And so I think it's really important to always be reading her work, whether it was cookbooks or poetry or
Take the
fiction or
next left
nonfiction,
onto Yucca Drive Northwest,
through
then
the
turn
time
right.
and place that formed it, but also with an important critical lens, which is that she did not live and work in a diverse culture. Publishing was really white at the time. And the truth is, even though she had some terrifically
You don't know how to drive in
the
Mexico.
iconic authors who were authors of color,
The rules
most
don't
of her
apply to
authors were
them.
white across the board, right? If you look at all the books that she edited, and that became her reality. That was her normal, right? That was her baseline in a way that I think, to me, feels, you know, I don't want to be, you're right, I try not to be unkind about it, but I think to ignore it would be to suggest that she was somehow more worldly or more open than she was. She was game and she was curious, but she was also limited by the worldview and the conditions and culture that shaped her.